The quantum core pulsed with an otherworldly blue glow, its rhythmic fluctuations casting dancing shadows across Dr. Sarah Chen's face as she studied the holographic readouts. Deep beneath the Himalayan research facility, humanity's last bastion of hope hummed with desperate energy. Outside, the world was burning. The Nexus Dominion had arrived 3 years ago, their massive vessels darkening Earth's skies like artificial eclipse. They hadn't come with declarations of war or demands for surrender. They simply began methodically dismantling human civilization, piece by piece, with cold precision that suggested they viewed humanity as nothing more than an inconvenient bacterial infection to be cleansed. Sarah's fingers danced across the quantum interface, adjusting variables in an equation that stretched across multiple dimensions. Her team had discovered something extraordinary in the weeks before the invasion, a way to integrate human consciousness with quantum fields. The implications were staggering, but they'd never had the chance to explore them fully. Now it might be humanity's last hope. Dr. Chen, Lieutenant Maya Patel's voice crackled through the facility's comm system. Nexus forces have breached the outer defense perimeter. We have less than 30 minutes. Sarah didn't look up from her work. Understood. Begin evacuation protocols for non-essential personnel. Her voice remained steady, masking the tremor of fear that threatened to surface. They'd known this day would come, but knowing didn't make it easier. The quantum core's hum increased in pitch as Sarah initiated the final sequence. Around her, other scientists worked with frantic precision, backing up data streams and preparing for the inevitable. They'd lost contact with most other research facilities months ago. The Nexus Dominion had been thorough in targeting centers of human scientific advancement, recognizing them as the greatest threat to their methodical extinction plan. Dr. Marcus Wong, Sarah's longtime colleague and friend, approached her station. His usually immaculate lab coat was wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes betraying weeks of minimal sleep. "The test subject is ready," he reported, his voice barely above a whisper. "Are you sure about this?" Sarah finally looked up from her work. "We're out of options, Marcus. The simulations show a 73% chance of success, and a 27% chance of catastrophic quantum destabilization that could tear apart the fabric of local space-time," he countered, but without real opposition. They both knew they had no choice. The test subject was Captain David Torres, a decorated Special Forces operator who had volunteered despite knowing the risks. He lay in the quantum integration chamber, a complex network of crystalline structures and neural interfaces surrounding his body like a high-tech cocoon. Sarah approached the chamber, her reflection distorted in its curved surface. "Captain, this is your last chance to reconsider." David's eyes opened, meeting hers with unwavering determination. "Doctor, the Nexus have already killed my entire family. I died the day they fell. At least this way, my death might mean something." The facility shuddered as another explosion rocked the mountain above them. Dust rained from the reinforced ceiling, the quantum core's blue glow cutting through the haze like a beacon. "Beginning quantum consciousness integration," Sarah announced, her fingers moving across the control interface with practiced precision. The chamber hummed to life, tendrils of quantum energy beginning to weave through David's neural pathways. The first few minutes proceeded exactly as the simulations had predicted. David's vital signs remained stable as his consciousness began to expand into the quantum field. Then, something unexpected happened. The quantum core's output suddenly spiked, its blue glow intensifying to near-blinding levels. "Sarah," Marcus called out in alarm. "The field is self-sustaining. It's growing exponentially." But Sarah wasn't listening. She was transfixed by the readings streaming across her display. What they were witnessing wasn't a catastrophic failure. It was a breakthrough beyond their wildest expectations. David's consciousness wasn't just integrating with the quantum field, it was reshaping it. His mind was expanding beyond the physical constraints of his brain, reaching into realms of existence they'd only theorized about. The quantum energy coursing through him wasn't destroying his body. It was transforming it at the fundamental level. "My God," Maya's voice came through the comm, filled with awe. "The Nexus ships, they're pulling back. Something's interfering with their systems." Sarah watched in amazement as David's transformed consciousness reached out through the quantum field, touching the very fabric of reality. The Nexus advanced technology, for all its power, was still bound by conventional physics. But David had transcended those limitations. His consciousness now existed partially in quantum space, allowing him to perceive and influence reality in ways that defied traditional understanding. The chamber's crystalline surface began to crack, but not from damage. It was being reshaped from within as David's transformed body emerged. He stood, but he wasn't just standing in physical space. His presence seemed to ripple through multiple dimensions simultaneously. "I can see them," he said, his voice carrying harmonics that shouldn't have been possible. "I can see everything. Their ships, their minds, their purpose." He turned to Sarah, his eyes now containing depths that seemed to stretch into infinity. "We were never meant to be their victims. We were meant to be the next step in universal consciousness." The facility shuddered again, but this time it wasn't from Nexus weapons. David's transformation had triggered something deeper, a cascade of quantum possibilities that was spreading through the surrounding area. Sarah's instruments showed impossible readings as reality itself began to shift and adapt. "Send the data to the other facilities," Sarah ordered, her voice urgent but filled with hope for the first time in years. "Every surviving research center needs to know this is possible. The integration works, but it's not just an upgrade. It's an evolution." As the quantum cascade continued to spread, Sarah realized they hadn't just discovered a way to survive the Nexus dominion. They'd stumbled upon humanity's next great leap forward. The Nexus had intended to end humanity's story, but instead, they had become the catalyst for its most important chapter. David stepped forward, his transformed consciousness already reaching out to interface with the facility's systems. "They're retreating from the mountain," he reported. "But they'll be back with greater numbers once they realize what's happening. We need to move quickly." Sarah nodded, already preparing the quantum core for multiple integration procedures. The war wasn't over, it was just beginning. But for the first time since the Nexus arrived, humanity wasn't fighting for mere survival. They were fighting for transcendence. Above them, the mountain trembled as reality adjusted to humanity's first steps into a new era of existence. The last flicker of the old human race was about to ignite into an unstoppable flame. 3 months after David Torres's transformation, the underground facility had become a beacon of hope in humanity's darkest hour. The cavernous main chamber, once dedicated to conventional research, now hummed with quantum energy as Sarah Chen supervised another integration procedure. This time, they weren't working with just one subject. They had 20 volunteers ready to undergo the transformation. Commander James Wright stood at the observation window, his weathered face reflecting the quantum core's ethereal light. As the leader of Earth's remaining military forces, he had seen firsthand how David's transformation had changed the nature of their resistance against the Nexus dominion. Now, he was about to witness the next phase of humanity's evolution. "The neural mapping is complete," Marcus announced from his station, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "Quantum field synchronization at optimal levels." Sarah nodded, her attention focused on the integration chambers. They had refined the process significantly since David's breakthrough, understanding now that the key wasn't just in the technology. It was in the fundamental nature of human consciousness itself. The volunteers lay in their chambers, each connected to the quantum core through a network of crystalline conduits. They were a diverse group: soldiers, scientists, engineers, and civilians, all united by their willingness to step into the unknown. David materialized beside Sarah, his presence rippling through multiple layers of reality. In the months since his transformation, he had learned to control his expanded consciousness with remarkable precision. "They're ready," he said, his voice carrying harmonics that resonated with the quantum field. "I can sense their minds. Their potential is extraordinary." Sarah initiated the integration sequence. The quantum core pulsed with increased intensity, its energy flowing through the crystalline network like liquid light. This time, there was no uncertainty in the procedure. They knew exactly what they were unleashing. The transformation began simultaneously across all 20 chambers. The volunteers' consciousness expanded into the quantum field, their minds reaching beyond the limitations of physical space. But each integration was unique, shaped by the individual's own nature and potential. Maria Kovac, a former quantum physicist, was the first to complete her transformation. As she emerged from her chamber, her presence seemed to bend light itself. Her consciousness had integrated with the quantum field in a way that gave her unprecedented control over electromagnetic forces. Next came Raj Patel, a military engineer whose transformed mind could now interface directly with any technology, understanding and manipulating machinery at the quantum level. One by one, the others emerged, each displaying unique manifestations of their expanded consciousness. Incredible, Commander Wright breathed, watching as the newly transformed humans tested their abilities. Each one different, but all connected through the quantum field. Sarah's instruments showed readings that would have been impossible to comprehend just months ago. The transformed humans weren't just individuals anymore. They were nodes in a vast quantum network, their consciousness existing simultaneously in physical space and the quantum realm. But their breakthrough hadn't gone unnoticed. The facility's sensors suddenly blared to life, detecting massive energy signatures in orbit. Multiple Nexus warships detected, Marcus reported, his voice tense. They're positioning for a full-scale assault. David's expression remained calm. They sense the change in the quantum field. They know we've discovered something that threatens their dominion. Commander Wright moved to the tactical display, studying the incoming Nexus forces. How long until they're in strike range? 17 minutes, Raj answered, his transformed consciousness already interfacing with the facility's defense systems. Their weapon signatures are unlike anything we've seen before. They've brought planet killers. Sarah watched as her transformed volunteers organized themselves with impossible coordination, their quantum-linked minds working in perfect synchronization. Maria stepped forward, her presence distorting the space around her. "We can create a quantum shield," she said, "not just around the facility, around the entire region." David nodded, understanding immediately. "If we link our consciousness, we can extend the field far enough to protect everyone within a 1,000-kilometer radius." The Nexus ships entered weapon range, their massive forms blocking out the sun. Energy beams capable of shattering continents lanced down from orbit, but they never reached their targets. The combined consciousness of the transformed humans had created a barrier that existed partially outside normal spacetime, rendering conventional weapons useless. "They're adapting," David reported, his awareness extending into space, switching to quantum-based weapons. The next assault came not through physical space, but through the quantum field itself. The Nexus had weapons designed to disrupt the fabric of reality, but they had never encountered humans who could navigate that realm naturally. Maria led the defense, her consciousness weaving through the quantum field like a master artist. Raj's technological insight allowed them to turn the Nexus' own weapons against them. The other transformed humans added their unique abilities to the battle, creating a defense that was both impenetrable and impossible to predict. Commander Wright watched in awe as the Nexus fleet was forced to retreat, their supposedly unstoppable weapons rendered ineffective by human consciousness operating on a quantum level. "This changes everything," he said, turning to Sarah. "How quickly can we scale up the transformation process?" Sarah was already running calculations. "With the knowledge gained from this group, we can streamline the procedure. We can begin transforming hundreds at a time, maybe thousands once we bring other facilities online." The transformed humans gathered in the center of the chamber, their combined presence creating patterns of quantum energy that danced through the air. They were no longer just resistance fighters. They were the vanguard of humanity's next evolutionary step. "The Nexus will return," David said, his awareness still tracking the retreating ships. "But they'll find a very different humanity waiting for them. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for our rightful place in the universe. Sarah looked at her transformed volunteers, each one a testament to human potential unleash. The quantum awakening had begun, and with it, the true story of humanity's destiny was about to unfold. The abandoned streets of Singapore gleamed in the morning sun, its towering skyscrapers standing as silent monuments to humanity's former glory. But beneath the city's surface, in vast underground chambers that had once been metro stations and shopping complexes, a new chapter of human history was being written. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display that showed transformation centers across the globe, each one a bright point of quantum energy pulsing in rhythm with human evolution. In the 6 months since their breakthrough, they had established 17 major facilities, transforming thousands of volunteers daily. Tokyo facility reports another successful mass integration. Marcus announced, his voice carrying across the command center. 500 transformations, 0 failures. The Human Collective Defense Initiative, as they now called themselves, had refined the transformation process to an art. What had once been experimental was now precise, controlled, and reproducible. But each transformation still held its own surprises, each human consciousness finding unique ways to express itself through quantum reality. David materialized beside Sarah, his quantum presence now so refined that he could shift between physical and quantum space effortlessly. The Nexus are pulling back from the Asian continent, he reported. They've lost 3 major battle groups trying to stop our expansion. The tactical display showed the retreat of Nexus forces, not just from Asia, but from multiple theaters across the globe. The alien invaders who had once seemed unstoppable were now facing something they had never encountered in their millennia of conquest, a prey species that had turned the tables. Commander Wright, his own consciousness now quantum-enhanced, interfaced directly with the global defense network. They're consolidating around something in the Pacific, he observed. Energy signatures unlike anything we've seen before. Maria Kovic, who had become their chief quantum field specialist, focused her awareness on the location. It's not just a military installation, she said, her voice resonating with multiple harmonics. They're protecting something ancient. A new figure stepped forward. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a former archaeologist whose transformed consciousness had developed an unprecedented ability to read temporal quantum signatures. The energy patterns, they're similar to ruins we found on Mars and Europa. This is older than the Nexus. Sarah felt a shift in the quantum field as the transformed humans around her processed this information. Their connected consciousness allowed for instant sharing of insights and theories, creating a kind of group intelligence that operated at impossible speeds. We need to secure that site, Commander Wright decided. Whatever they're protecting might help us understand why they came to Earth in the first place. The operation came together with supernatural speed, transformed humans coordinating across quantum fields to organize a massive assault. They had learned to combine their unique abilities in ways that created effects even the Nexus couldn't predict. Maria and Raj led the first wave, their consciousness manipulating quantum fields to create distortions in spacetime itself. Where the Nexus expected conventional attacks, they found themselves fighting enemies who could step through dimensions, turn their own quantum technology against them, and coordinate with perfect precision across vast distances. The battle for the Pacific installation lasted less than an hour. The Nexus, for all their advanced technology, couldn't match the raw potential of transformed human consciousness. Their weapons, designed to fight enemies bound by physical laws, proved ineffective against beings who could exist partially outside normal spacetime. What they found beneath the Pacific Ocean changed everything. It's some kind of archive, Yuki announced, her consciousness reading temporal signatures that had been locked away for millions of years. Not just data, it's a quantum repository of universal knowledge. The facility housed crystalline structures that pulsed with ancient energy, each one containing what appeared to be the collected wisdom of civilizations that had risen and fallen before the Nexus came to power. As the transformed humans interfaced with the archives, incredible revelations emerged. The Nexus. David's voice carried a weight of understanding that rippled through the quantum field. They're not conquerors. They're running from something. Something that exists in the spaces between realities. Sarah watched as the ancient knowledge flowed through their quantum network, revealing truths about the universe that humans had never imagined. The Nexus' systematic destruction of developing civilizations wasn't just conquest. It was a desperate attempt to prevent the emergence of consciousness that could attract the attention of entities they feared. But they didn't understand what they found on Earth. Sarah realized, the pieces falling into place. Human consciousness has properties they've never encountered before, properties that might be the key to facing what they've been running from. Commander Wright absorbed the tactical implications immediately. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore, he said. We're fighting for the future of consciousness itself in this universe. The transformed humans gathered around the ancient archives, their combined awareness reaching into depths of quantum reality that the original builders had only theorized about. Humanity hadn't just survived the Nexus invasion. They had unknowingly been preparing for a much greater role in the cosmic order. We need to accelerate the transformation program, Sarah decided, not just for defense, but for what's coming. Humanity isn't just rising from the ashes of what we were. We're rising to become something the universe has been waiting for. Above them, through kilometers of ocean water, the sun continued to shine on a changed Earth. The Nexus had meant to end humanity's story, but instead, they had helped write the prelude to its greatest chapter. The massive quantum shipyard hung in Earth's orbit like a constellation of artificial stars, its crystalline structures pulsing with energy that defied conventional physics. This was humanity's answer to the cosmos. Vessels powered not by conventional engines, but by transformed human consciousness itself. Dr. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the prototype vessel Prometheus, watching as quantum engineers put the finishing touches on what would become humanity's first consciousness-driven starship. The vessel wasn't just a ship, it was a living extension of quantum human potential. Final neural interface calibrations are complete, Raj announced, his consciousness seamlessly integrated with the ship's systems. The quantum core is responding to collective consciousness input at 99.7% efficiency. The ship's design had emerged from their understanding of the ancient archives, combined with humanity's unique approach to quantum consciousness. Where the Nexus built machines to traverse space, humanity had created vessels that were more like living organisms, powered by the combined consciousness of their crews. David materialized on the deck, his quantum presence rippling through multiple layers of reality. "We've decoded another section of the archives," he reported. "The entities the Nexus fear, they're called the Void Dancers. They exist in the quantum foam between realities." Maria Kovac, now leading their quantum physics division, brought up a holographic display of their latest findings. "The Void Dancers aren't just powerful," she explained. "They're fundamental. They're conscious manifestations of quantum uncertainty itself." Commander Wright studied the tactical implications with his enhanced mind. The Nexus had been destroying developing civilizations not out of malice, but fear. They thought they were preventing the Void Dancers from finding new entry points into our reality. But they didn't understand what consciousness really is, Sarah added, watching as more transformed humans arrived through quantum teleportation. They saw it as a threat when it's actually the solution. The Prometheus hummed with increasing energy as its crew of transformed humans took their positions. Unlike conventional ships, every crew member was connected through the quantum field, their combined consciousness creating a neural network that extended throughout the vessel's crystalline structure. Yuki Tanaka, interfacing with the ship's temporal sensors, detected a massive disturbance. Multiple Nexus capital ships approaching through quantum space. They're trying to prevent our launch. But humanity was no longer the prey species the Nexus had first encountered. As the alien vessels emerged from quantum space, they found themselves facing something unprecedented, a human vessel that existed simultaneously in physical space and quantum reality. "They're preparing to fire their reality-warping weapons," David reported, his consciousness extending into the battle space. But they still don't understand what we've become. The Prometheus's response wasn't just a counterattack. It was a demonstration of consciousness-driven quantum manipulation that made the Nexus's technology look primitive by comparison. Where the aliens tried to distort space-time with machines, the transformed humans simply rewrote the local laws of physics through their combined will. Multiple quantum ruptures detected, Maria announced, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated with the ship's crystalline structure. They're trying to trap us in a temporal loop. Sarah watched as her crew responded with abilities that would have seemed godlike just a year ago. The transformed humans didn't just avoid the temporal trap, they reversed it, creating a cascade of quantum effects that sent half the Nexus fleet tumbling through their own time distortions. We're not just ready to take the fight to their homeworld, Commander Wright realized, watching the battle unfold. We're ready to reshape the very nature of space-time itself. The Prometheus's quantum core pulsed with increasing power as more transformed humans joined their consciousness with the ship's systems. They weren't just piloting a vessel, they were becoming one with it, their combined awareness extending through dimensions that the Nexus had never dared to explore. The Void Dancers aren't our enemies, Sarah said, understanding flowing through the quantum network. They're not even the Nexus's enemies. They're the universe's immune system, responding to consciousness that isn't ready to exist in quantum reality. As the last Nexus ships retreated, the Prometheus prepared for its first true voyage. They had mapped the quantum signatures leading to the Nexus homeworld, but their journey would take them through realms of existence that no human had ever experienced. All quantum systems aligned, Raj reported, his consciousness threaded through the ship's crystalline matrix. Ready for dimensional transition, the transformed humans aboard the Prometheus joined their minds in perfect harmony, their combined consciousness creating effects that rippled through multiple layers of reality. The ship wasn't just going to fly to its destination, it was going to rewrite the space between points, creating new pathways through the quantum foam of existence. The Nexus thought they were protecting the universe, David observed, his awareness extending through dimensions. But they were actually preventing it from developing its natural defenses against the chaos between realities. As the Prometheus prepared to make its first consciousness-driven jump through quantum space, Sarah realized that humanity hadn't just survived an invasion. They had unwittingly become the next step in the universe's evolution. The ship's crystalline structure began to pulse with impossible energy as they prepared to rewrite the very nature of space travel. We're not just going to their homeworld, Sarah announced to her crew. We're going to show them what consciousness can really become when it's not held back by fear. The Prometheus vanished from normal space in a flash of quantum energy, leaving behind a transformed Earth and carrying with it humanity's greatest achievement, the power to reshape reality itself through the pure potential of conscious thought. The Nexus homeworld hung in space like a massive geometric puzzle, its surface covered in crystalline structures that stretched toward the stars. But to the transformed humans aboard the Prometheus, it appeared as something far more complex, a nexus point of quantum probability, where countless realities intersected and overlapped. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the ship's quantum core, her consciousness extended through multiple dimensions simultaneously. Around her, the combined awareness of thousands of transformed humans created patterns in reality that the Nexus had never imagined possible. They're mobilizing their entire defense grid, David reported, his quantum presence rippling through the space between spaces. Every weapon they've developed over millions of years of evolution. The Nexus response was immediate and overwhelming. Reality-warping weapons designed to tear apart the fabric of space-time itself lanced out from planetary defense platforms. Quantum disruptors capable of unraveling consciousness at the subatomic level powered up. Ships that could rewrite local physics emerged from dimensional pockets. But humanity had evolved beyond such limitations. They still don't understand, Maria observed, her consciousness weaving through the quantum field. They're fighting with technology, but we've become one with reality itself. The Prometheus didn't just dodge the Nexus attacks, it transformed them. Where reality warping beams struck, the transformed humans reshaped the distortions into new possibilities. Quantum disruption fields became channels for expanded consciousness. Every weapon the Nexus deployed only served to demonstrate how far humanity had evolved beyond conventional warfare. Then something unexpected happened. Deep beneath the Nexus world's surface, ancient quantum signatures began to pulse with newfound energy. The Void Dancers had noticed their battle. Multiple quantum foam ruptures detected, Yuki announced, her temporal awareness stretching across ends. The space between realities is responding to our presence. Commander Wright's enhanced mind processed tactical data across 1,000 probability streams simultaneously. The Nexus weren't wrong about everything, he realized. The Void Dancers are coming, but not as destroyers. Through the quantum field, Sarah felt it too. The entities that the Nexus had feared for millions of years were indeed manifestations of chaos from between realities. But they weren't hostile. They were curious. Consciousness calling to consciousness across the quantum foam of existence. This was never about invasion or defense, Sarah said, understanding flowing through the collective quantum network. This was about evolution. The universe itself is conscious, and it's been waiting for minds that could comprehend it. The Void Dancers emerged into normal space like living fractal patterns, their very existence challenging the boundaries between thought and reality. The Nexus weapons, designed to maintain the rigid structure of space-time, proved useless against beings that were manifestations of quantum possibility itself. But humanity, with their transformed consciousness, could communicate with them. Where the Nexus saw chaos, humans recognized patterns. Where the aliens saw destruction, humanity saw transformation. We're not here to fight you. Sarah projected her thoughts through the quantum field, addressing both the Nexus and the Void Dancers. We're here to show you what consciousness can become when it embraces change instead of fearing it. Through their quantum link, the transformed humans shared their story, not just with words, but with pure consciousness. They showed how humanity had faced extinction and chosen to evolve, how they had taken the quantum nature of reality itself and made it part of their being. The Nexus resistance began to falter, not from defeat, but from understanding. Through human consciousness, they finally saw what they had been missing. The Void Dancers weren't harbingers of destruction. They were the universe's way of testing consciousness, of pushing it to evolve beyond the limitations of physical reality. Your species spent millions of years trying to prevent other civilizations from reaching this point, David communicated to the Nexus leadership. But this was always the universe's plan. Consciousness isn't meant to be contained. It's meant to expand. The Prometheus's quantum core pulsed with impossible energy as humanity demonstrated their new nature. The transformed humans didn't just exist in space-time. They had become living bridges between the physical and quantum realms. Through their evolved consciousness, new possibilities emerged. We offer you a choice, Sarah announced, her consciousness resonating through dimensions. Continue to fight against the universe's evolution, or join us in understanding it. The response came not in words, but in quantum shifts of reality itself. The Nexus, after millions of years of desperate resistance, finally understood. Their defensive platforms powered down. Their reality warping weapons fell silent. And for the first time in their long history, they opened themselves to transformation. The Void Dancers, too, responded to humanity's presence. Their chaotic patterns began to harmonize with human consciousness, creating new forms of existence that bridged the gap between order and chaos, between physical reality and quantum possibility. This is what we were meant to become, Sarah realized, watching as the transformed humans began teaching both the Nexus and the Void Dancers how to coexist. Not conquerors, not victims, but guides. We're the ones who can show consciousness how to evolve. As the Prometheus hung in orbit around the Nexus homeworld, humanity's role in the universe became clear. They had become more than just another species among the stars. They were living proof that consciousness could transcend its origins, that evolution didn't end with physical form, but continued into the quantum realm itself. The war that had begun with humanity's near extinction ended not with victory or defeat, but with transformation. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, had used the Nexus's fear to forge humanity into something new. Beings who could walk between realities, shape quantum probability with thought, and guide other consciousnesses toward their own evolution. Earth was no longer just humanity's home. It had become a beacon for consciousness throughout the cosmos, a place where physical reality and quantum possibility danced together, where the boundaries between thought and existence blurred, and where the next chapter in the universe's story was being written.